only person starting January and the New Year reset off a little late. It is already January 17th and my new year technically started January 15th. That's just the pace I'm at and where we're at. So let me know if you relate. My name is Abby Weinstein, still known as Abby Asselin. I just got married on New Year's Eve and I just got back from my honeymoon a few days ago. I am a lifestyle content creator here on YouTube, and I also have a podcast called In Bloom Podcast available everywhere you listen. And if you are a listener of my podcast, then you know I am always advocating for starting fresh when you need to start fresh and not thinking that it needs to be the start of a new week, the start of a new month, the start of a new year to do so. I feel like a lot of us really started off 2024 feeling very burnt out and not really having a ton of motivation to just jump into setting all these goals and starting all these new habits and routines, which is totally fine. You can set goals and start new routines and new habits whenever you want and whenever works best for you. Let's be honest, it's unproductive and inefficient to try and jump into goals when you're not feeling like you can give your 100% to them. To outline today's video, we are going to be going over my New Year reset tasks, the things that I have on my list that are primarily focused on this front month or two of the year to really get myself in new routines and in a good place to start my new routines and habits and to help me achieve the goals that I am setting for myself. We're making a vision board and we are setting up my Doodle Journal for 2024. I've never really done a reset dedicated video on my YouTube channel, especially at the start of a new year or a new month. I know they're very popular on YouTube. I've watched Michelle Reed's, I've watched some of Carter Sullivan's, I've watched Jenna Hong's, and they're all great, so definitely check out their videos if you love reset focused content. I have traditionally kept this content on my podcast though, and I'm really excited to be doing it in video form, especially because I have a Doodle Journal, so I think the visuals with this are going to be everything. I found out about this Doodle Journal from Jenna Hong, who I just mentioned, and shout out to her. I love her content. Definitely subscribe to her, follow her on Instagram and everything if you haven't already. I talk about her all the time. And she introduced me to this Doodle Journal in 2023 and I saw it went on sale on Black Friday and I bought it because I had it in the back of my mind for so long. Have I used a paper planner in the last 3 years? No. I'm definitely the type of person to get a planner and use it for like a month and then forget about it. But one of my goals for 2024 is to really slow down. And I think having a paper version of a Doodle Journal / bullet journal / planner is really going to help me achieve that goal. And I've been loving using it so far. So this is from Shop Amanda Rachel Lee. I don't know if this one's still in stock, but I'm obsessed with it. It's teddy prints, and each of these little icons represents the spreads for each month. And we'll get into the details of the Doodle Journal later, but I love her. If you want to hear more about my year as a whole in regard to habits, resolutions, word of the year, all of that good stuff, definitely check out my podcast, In Bloom Podcast, as I already mentioned, because I do have that episode already up on my podcast. It went up at the beginning of the year. I'm going to start with my beginning of the year reset focus items. I don't want to call them goals per se. They're just more so focal points. Because in my opinion, a lot of people will start out with a vision board and then they'll set their own goals and their focus points. But I personally think it's more effective and more genuine and personal if you do your goals and focal point identification first and then move into your vision board. And the reason I say that is because with vision boards, if you just go online and you start pinning things on Pinterest or cutting things out of magazines, you tend to keep in mind what society likes and what things are popular, what things are trending, and what appeals to most eyes when you haven't really set any of your goals or your focal points yet. However, if you set your goals and focal points first and then go into making your vision board, you will have those personal goals and focal points that you identified already in your head and on paper or on your computer that can really help you shape a very specific and personalized vision board rather than pictures that just look pretty and are aesthetically pleasing. I'm guilty of it, and I've learned this in the past from when I've made vision boards. I used to do vision board and then goals. So to keep things as genuine and personalized as possible, we're going to do focal points and then the vision board. Number one is to do a deep declutter and organization of our home. We bought a townhouse in October of 2022, and when we moved in, I was extremely busy with work. We had just gotten engaged, and things were just very chaotic, and I never really got the chance to get things in good places. A lot of our closets, we quite literally just threw things into the closets and said, we'll figure this out later. And lo and behold, it is like 15 months later and we have not figured it out. And then obviously with just getting married, the state of our home right now is an utter disaster, and it's going to take several days to get it back to speed, and then we need to clean it too once it's back to speed. I just really want things to have a home. I don't want there to be a lot of clutter. I'm a firm believer that your environment absolutely influences your mood and the way you feel, and I am somebody that gets very overstimulated by messy environments. It's like I can handle it for a few days, and then one day I'll just reach a breaking point and I'm like, everything needs to be picked up and put in place now. I want to put away our Christmas decor because it is quite literally still up. I haven't had time to put that away. I want to go through my closet and really just anything I have not worn in the last year, it's got to go. Get rid of things we don't use. Find a place for the things that we got off our registry. Clean out the fridge, clean out the pantry, which I did already do right before I went grocery shopping when we got home from the honeymoon, which I cannot recommend doing that enough as a way to reset for the new year, or really any month or any time you want. Clean out the closets, organize bathroom drawers, all that good stuff. Just really declutter. Going off of that, the next thing is to set some sort of cleaning schedule. If you have a cleaning schedule, please let me know down in the comments and just let me know how it works. The way we typically do it, I almost said my fiance, but he's my husband now. Husband typically does anything outdoor related, and then he usually vacuums all the floors and he will mop all the floors, and he takes care of the trash usually and unloading the dishwasher, and those are just kind of his chores on top of his laundry with putting it away. And then I kind of just do everything else. But a lot of times if we're both able to clean at the same time, we just kind of tag team everything. But I have struggled my whole life with an all or nothing mindset, and I truly think it's just because of how I grew up cleaning. I just remember I would wake up on Saturday mornings to the sound of the Orek, I think is what the brand of it was called, a vacuum cleaner that my mom was using, and it would be the signal that today is the cleaning day. You are not going to be able to go play outside with your friends until you get all your chores done. And I felt like we did everything in one day except for laundry. As far as us doing our chores and cleaning the house, it was an all-day marathon event, and I hate that as an adult. I just feel like it's a lot more sustainable if you do a little bit here and there. It's a hard pill for me to swallow, knowing that nothing is ever 100% clean when you do a little bit at a time, because each day that passes since you did a chore and then you start doing different chores on those days is a day that passes that allows something to get dirty, basically. Whereas when you do it all in one sitting on one day, you have usually 24 hours of pure bliss where you're yes, everything is clean. And I love that feeling, but it just doesn't last very long. And it's also just extremely exhausting and unrealistic to spend an entire day of the 48 hours we have on the weekend to clean. And the next thing is to set up a budget with my husband. We're not the type of people necessarily to track every single little dollar spent, just because that in and of itself is a full-time job. We are planning on combining our bank accounts and combining our savings and things of that sort, just because that is what we want to do as a couple, and to each their own on how they like to approach finances. But with us setting up a bank account and everything, we're also wanting to go ahead and budget. A big part of us wanting to set up a budget is because with putting our money together, we can be a lot more transparent about what we really can and can't afford. The whole last year, a lot of, if not all of my disposable income for a lot of the year was going to wedding related things. But since I quit my corporate Big Four accounting job, I am a CPA and I am in this transitional phase of life. It's post-wedding, and thankfully we don't have to pay for anything related to that anymore, but we still have all of our other bills. I am a content creator and I have been for years, and I'm so thankful that I do make a living off of my YouTube channel and off of Instagram and everything like that. I could literally sit here and just talk about how grateful I am for it for days, because it's allowing me to really be intentional about my job search and what I'm going to be doing next. I'm really just kind of taking a short career break after being very burnt out from my Big Four job over the last 2 years, with balancing that with wedding planning and being a content creator too. So since I don't have that stable paycheck every 2 weeks anymore, I really need to just buckle down and really see where our finances are at, because I don't want us to be, going on trips that we probably shouldn't be spending money on, or buying things for the house, or doing home projects that we maybe shouldn't be focusing on at this time of life if it's not doable. And setting up a budget will really help us, be able to see that. Because being a content creator, the income's extremely volatile, as you all know. I have a flat amount that I usually make every month, but by no means is it comparable to what I was making at my Big Four job. But thankfully we are starting off the year very strong, which I'm very thankful for. The next thing is to get started on our thank you notes for the wedding. This is just a focal point for the the first month of the year. I know it's a big priority to get those written and sent out as soon as possible after the wedding. It's going to take a long time to do, but I plan on just kind of spreading it out over a couple of days and watching some YouTube videos or movies or TV shows while I do it. I just ordered them yesterday from Artifact Uprising, which I'm super excited about, and I can't wait to show them to you all. I really want to focus on reading, which I've already been focusing on since the wedding has come and gone. I really didn't get to read a lot in November and December at all because of the wedding and work and all of that good stuff. But once we went on our honeymoon, I was able to finish Assassin's Blade, which I had started in November, I believe, from the Throne of Glass series, and I also read the book Mile High by Liz Tomford, I believe is her name, and that's a really great, it's a completely different series, but it's a hockey romance. It's very spicy. I love it. It's based in Chicago. It's perfect for like the winter romance vibes. It's hard to read those beachy romance books when it's, 30 degrees outside. So I love that it was a wintry romance. And I've heard that the rest of the series is even better than the first book. So I'm excited to read the rest of those, but after I finished Mile High, I actually went back to the Throne of Glass series, and now I'm reading Heir of Fire. I am reading in the romantic or emotional reading order, but reading is just one of those things that really helps me wind down in the evening. I'm really trying to focus on making sure I just read in the evening instead of letting myself sit on my phone and doom scroll, because that does absolutely nothing for the quality of my sleep and for my emotional and mental health. Whereas reading is just something that helps me escape and really slow down. My husband and I are also reading the 5 Love Languages book. It was actually gifted to us by the people who drove our, is it called a getaway car? I think it's called a getaway car. The car that you leave in after your wedding. That car, the person who drove it, they gifted us the 5 Love Languages book, and my husband had this amazing idea, and it's just so touching that he thought of this on our honeymoon. We brought it with us on our honeymoon, and he said, why don't we each read a chapter and then we can talk about it after we read it. I was like, that's such a great idea. So we've actually read through a large part of the book and we're almost done with it. But it's been so great for us to just really discuss what we need in order to fill our love tank, as the book suggests, and really just be the best partner and source of support that we can be to each other, so that we're meeting each other's love languages and loving each other in the way that we like to be loved and not in the way that we like to give. Next thing is to slow down more. So I have just come off quite literally the busiest year of my life, and I absolutely have been dreading this time of year after quitting my job and after the wedding, because I have had friends get married and they just say it's, a really hard come down after the wedding, because you spend so long planning for it and putting in all this time and money into it, and then it's over in a day, and it kind of becomes a part of your identity during the time that you're planning it. So then when all of it's over in a day and that's kind of stripped from you, you're just like, what is life? I expressed this concern of emotional come down with my therapist, and I told her, I said, I know me, and I know that I don't handle come downs very well. I cannot go from a high to a low very well. I kind of just shut off and freeze when that happens, and I am unable to get myself to do anything when that happens. And we really worked on something called Cope Ahead, which is basically just identifying things that I can do to help myself cope with something that I know is coming in the future. So she was saying, unboxing the things that we get from our registry, breaking down those boxes and finding a home for those things, working on the thank you notes, putting a lot of time and energy into creating content, allowing myself to slow down and do things that I didn't have the time to do when I was planning the wedding and working my full-time job and being a content creator, such as maybe playing my Nintendo Switch, maybe reading more, reinvesting in my social life. And I'm a very active rester, so slowing down looks like doing those things that I just mentioned rather than just, binge watching TV. And one of my biggest goals for 2024 is to really focus on non-productive hobbies and not monetizing my hobbies. I really wanted to get back into doodling, coloring, because I loved doing that as a little girl. So, connecting with my inner child through my Doodle Journal, for example. Maybe getting one of the Bobby Goods coloring books, and then playing my Switch. I had a TikTok come up on my For You page about cozy games to play, and I lost my mind because I didn't realize that cozy aesthetic type of games existed for Nintendo Switch. I think there's one called Lemon Loaf that I really want to try. I really want to try Stardew Valley. I have Animal Crossing, and that's been my bread and butter cozy game since I was literally 7 years old. I played it on GameCube all the way through now to Switch. And granted, I haven't played it in probably 2 years just because of being so busy, but I'd love to start playing it again and maybe play some of these other cozy games to really just help me unwind and slow down and appreciate hobbies that aren't productive. It was just funny because I saw that one TikTok, I liked it and saved it, and then it became like my entire For You page. And now I'm a part of the Cozy Gamers subreddit. I'm fully invested without having even bought any other games yet. Another way I'm kind of low-key slowing down, and I don't plan on doing this weekly, maybe just once a month, forcing myself to slow down by physically going in the store and doing my grocery shopping. I just did that for the first time, and I don't know how long, on Monday when we got back from the honeymoon, or the day after we got back from the honeymoon. And for the first time ever, I put AirPods in and listened to music while I was grocery shopping, and it was kind of a vibe, and it forced me to slow down. There's nothing wrong with being efficient and productive and creating little loopholes for your routine to optimize your free time more, but sometimes it's good to take that optimization out of the equation and force yourself to slow down by doing the things the traditional way. For example, in-store grocery shopping instead of curbside pickup. If you're starting to feel like your life is so monotonous and routine and you just need a change, switch up something like that. Like, you have to grocery shop anyways, so maybe just go in the store and listen to a podcast while you grocery shop instead of doing curbside. It helps you slow down and not be so... Next is to start the name changing process. So I already started this. I put the newly named gift card on our wedding registry, and we did have someone get it for us, so I've already ordered the box to come to me. So we're going to get that name change process started, and I will officially be Abby Weinstein. But I will not be changing my name on YouTube just because for branding purposes and everything, it doesn't make sense to do like a full name change. I did change my name when you go to my Instagram on my profile, but not changing my @name either, just because, like I said, for branding purposes, it doesn't make any sense. I'm keeping my maiden name as my middle name too, so it's not like it's not my name anymore, if you know what I mean. Next, we have to really start looking into career next steps. I talked a lot about my next steps in a lot of detail in my podcast episode where I talked about, I think it was in a Q&A. I'll put the episode here on screen and leave a link down below. And I actually spilled a little tea in that episode that I haven't actually shared on my YouTube channel yet, but I did apply to do a teacher education program to get like certified. So, surprise. I don't really know if I'm doing that yet or not. It's kind of like my, I don't want to call it a backup option because it's not a backup option, but it's kind of just a way that I'm keeping my options open. I have applied to probably 20 jobs, and I haven't even gotten an interview for any of them. I know that I could get a senior tax role pretty much anywhere I applied to if I wanted to, but I don't want to stay in tax. Like, my LinkedIn, every single day I probably get 5 messages from recruiters about positions that they want to connect me with, and they're all tax positions, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to stay in tax. I want to experience the broader accounting and finance world in the industry somewhere, maybe at like a beauty company or a retail company or a wellness company, something of that sort. And I've applied to a lot of positions within that realm, but haven't unfortunately gotten any interviews. I don't really know why, but I'm trusting the process, and I'm very thankful that I have this content creating to rely on in the meantime as I figure out what's next for me. And to share a little bit even more detail that I haven't shared on the podcast, with teaching, I have always known, my dream has been to be a college professor. That's what I really want to do at the end of the day, but I'd have to have 5 years of public accounting experience to teach accounting at a school, like a college, university level, I guess you could say. I could go teach at a community college or local college if I wanted to, probably. But I don't know if I feel a lot of imposter syndrome teaching accounting. I would much rather teach economics, and I unfortunately am not qualified to do that either because I don't have my master's in that. I have my master's in tax accounting. But all of that being said, before I, maybe get a master's in econ so that I can be an econ professor, for example, that is not happening as of right now, but say that were a 5-year down the line thing, I think it's a wise decision to even see if I like teaching to begin with before I just commit to another degree and throwing all that money into higher education. I think it would be smart for me to test out teaching at the high school level, which is, if I were to teach primary education, I'd want to be in high school. With all of that being said, I told my therapist, so many people, the discourse surrounding teaching is very, very, very negative for the most part. I see so much on TikTok of people who are teachers who hate their jobs, who are leaving teaching, all this stuff. All of their feelings are very valid. I think it's worth saying that for some reason, when I see those videos and when I think about becoming a teacher, I don't feel intimidated by those videos. I feel inspired and fired up when I see those videos. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be a part of the change that this teaching world needs. Like, I want to be a part of it. I just feel so drawn to it in a way, in my gut and in my core, and I just don't even feel, I feel like it's the same two sides of a magnet trying to go together with finance and accounting corporate positions. But then with teaching, it's like the two opposite poles of a magnet, and I'm like so attracted, and I just see the dumpster fire that people are describing teaching as, and I want to dive in head first. And I don't know why, but I do. And I think that's worth saying. So with all of that being said, I think I have until April to take this exam that I need to take, but it's not the certification exam. It's an exam before I take the certification exam. I don't really know. It's through Teachers of Tomorrow, I think. So I have until April to take that. I plan on taking it hopefully just to at least see, and then maybe take the teacher certification from there, and then we'll see. You know, if a job comes up that sounds really intriguing in finance and accounting, I absolutely want to try and apply for it and interview for it and go through all that process. I also have friends who worked at my Big Four company with me who quit before I did and moved on to other companies and aren't really doing tax related things. So I'm also trying to meet up with them, get coffee, and talk to them about how they like their job and everything as well. So that is how I am kind of going about focusing on this career transition and what's next for me. Sorry for the long-winded explanation there. And the last two things we have, first is to work on my channel rebrand. I really just want to invest a lot of time into the creative side of YouTube when it comes to having a consistent theme across my videos with fonts and with transitions and all of that good stuff and overlays. I definitely had a really strong brand, I feel like, in 2020, 2019 when I was using my iPad a lot for overlays and everything, but I don't really love doing that. I'd rather do something with fonts and everything. I really want to work on this sooner rather than later, just so that I can have that cohesive feel across all of my videos. And last but not least is to go ahead and brainstorm my Q1 goals when it comes to content creating. So brands that I want to work with, I really knew that in 2024 I wanted to work with brands that I could hopefully rebook with, so have continuing contracts with for multiple months. And I actually am really excited because I did just rebook with one of my favorite brands for January and February, and I just worked with them in October, November, and December, I believe. So I'm really excited about that because it's a brand that I use and love. And I also have a rebook with the brand that I worked with in August of last year. So I'm really excited about those, but I would like to have contracts booked to where it's like, okay, we're locking you in for 3 months, we're locking you in for 6 months, something like that, rather than just the spontaneous rebooks, even though I'm really grateful for the spontaneous rebooks. So brainstorming those brands, brainstorming my strategy with my short form content, seeing if that needs a refresh at all. I'm very consistent in terms of posting on Instagram, so usually posting reels 3 times a week and an Instagram post once a week or every other week. Trying to be more active on stories, keeping things linked on my like to know it and keeping that very up to date. But TikTok is a big fat question mark for me. I'm still trying to figure it out. So trying to find the line between doing the fun trends, but also putting TikTok specific content on there that's just very personal and informal, because I feel like Instagram's a little bit more formal. And it's hard for me to be informal, honestly. So just really brainstorming my Q1 strategy and goals in terms of numbers and brands I want to work with, because I have my Q1 strategy call with my manager on February 1st. So, and it's just a little bit later because of me being gone from my honeymoon and everything. That's everything for my focal points for the beginning of the year with this New Year reset. Now let's get into vision boarding. So we're gonna make a vision board just for the start of the year to kind of reflect my goals for 2024 as well as just the beginning of this year. As you can see on my screen right now, this is actually a vision board that I put together in spring of last year, I believe. I typically have this whole inner rebirth that kind of happens annually in April, I would say, when it starts to warm up again. Last year I literally called it my defrosting era, but this is a vision board of some pictures that I took, some pictures that are from Pinterest, but mostly from Pinterest. And I like to set it as my home screen just as a reminder of my goals and everything. So this was mine from spring. And like I said, I think this is really great to do at the beginning of a year, but it's also really great to do seasonally. My home screen is an utter disaster, so you all will get to see it like this, not with all of my icons on it. I really need to clean this up. This is also something I plan on doing. However, we're going to start out with Pinterest. Since I've already set my 2024 goals and since I've already gone through all of my focal points for the year with you all, this is kind of where we're at. So I actually already started pinning a lot of these. I have my personal Pinterest here and my 2024 vision board is here on my Pinterest already. So I like to find quotes that really reflect the goals and focal points that I've set for myself and pictures that are representative of things. So for example, this one of the playing cards and the drinks. And one of my goals for 2024 is to reinvest in my social life since I kind of neglected it the last 2 years. So I thought this was very representative of that. I always love this quote, discipline is remembering what you want. It really helps me keep going in the seasons where I feel like giving up. I really want to spend a lot of time outdoors, so that's kind of why I put this picture in there. I have a reading goal for the year, so I love this little reading picture. Got a little budget-inspired picture here with being on top of my money. A little intimate dinner picture here for spending intentional time with my husband. Little travel-related picture at an airport with a suitcase. Cooking at home more, that one's really representative of that. So you get the idea, but I typically like to go to more ideas once I've got a good baseline because it kind of will start to pick up on the things you've pinned. Mine is very heavily quote related, but you can often find other really good ideas in here though. I also like to just search things such as 2024 vision board. I also just totally spelled that wrong. As you can see, there's like a lot of different things on here. So let's look at health. I love this one. I love coffee mornings with my husband, whether we're going out or we're making it together at home. I love concerts, so do that. Oh, I really am trying to be like on top of supplements, so love that. Definitely want to keep up with my 5-minute journal. Do a little camera since I'm focusing on content creating a bit more this year. I also like just looking at aesthetic because you can usually just find some good stuff there. I want to go to more bookstores. I love taking pictures of things, so I'm gonna put that on there. I like to just go ahead and download the pictures so that I can make them into a vision board. And then I just go into Canva, create a design. I usually have to look up the specs of the size of my home screen. And I think I have the MacBook Pro M3 2022 wallpaper size. I'm gonna do this one, 30. And then we're just gonna upload everything we saved. I go to desktop and then I just select all of these guys, upload them. So there we have it. I like to kind of spread the quotes out a little bit and add some variety. I obviously just made this one really quickly, so I will probably end up fine-tuning it some, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna go ahead and download it. And then I'm going to set it as my desktop picture. Pretty good. It's definitely not to scale, so I will fix that, but you get the idea. Now getting into the Doodle Journal. So I already filmed all the B-roll for setting this up a long time ago, and I am new to this. So let's just be very patient with me as we go through this process. I specifically am using the Zebra Mild Liner brush pen, and markers, and for these specific Doodle journals, you want to use water-based markers from what I saw Amanda Rachley, who is the creator of these. That's what she said to use for limiting bleed through and really keeping it from bleeding through. If you use alcohol based, it will likely bleed through the pages. These do not bleed through in my experience. I do really recommend kind of swatching out all the colors on a blank page beforehand so you can see what their true color is. I was texting Jenna about this and we were like literally sending pictures of what ours looked like so far. I told her my first page was literally atrocious, and she was saying how she normally swatches them all out. I'm the rookie here, so I'm listening to her advice. But swatching them all out is really smart because the caps aren't necessarily always telling of what the color is. But if y'all watched me in college, you know that I used the highlighter version of the Zebra markers literally like clockwork. So my very first page we're looking at, it has this planner belongs to, and I really struggled when figuring out my color scheme here, and I just really hated it. I still hate it. My goal was to kind of just use one of every color on this intro page, and it just turned out looking so terrible. It's literally giving the powdered cheese in macaroni and cheese boxes and ketchup. I hate it. That's why we started with the first page though, so that we could get it out of the way. So flipping the page for it's time to write a new story and the 2024 overview. I didn't color anything on this 2024 overview. I told myself I'd come back to it and I never did. And these blues ended up being a lot closer together in color than I thought they would be, so that was also a little bit of a fail. So we improved a little bit on this one. I really tried looking up the complementary colors. It's been a long time since I've taken any art classes. Moving on to my 2023 reflections and 2024 goals, I now have this whole section filled out. So don't really understand what's going on with the colors I chose here. I should have kept it cohesive across both pages instead of doing green and purple and pink and red on one. On this page, I was like, let's be cool and do inverse on each page, but it would have looked so much better if I just stayed consistent across both the pages. So it was pink and red stripes on the left and purple and green accents, and then purple and green stripes with the pink and red accents on the right. And I actually don't really like how this turned out either. However, it's a work in progress. Things to check out. I did not fill this out because I actually did not know what it was for. And I need to just look at some inspo for this section. Now moving on to January, where I improved vastly, finally. So when I think of January, which last year when I got my nails done in January, I got a bright blue on my nails, and I don't know why, but I just think of blues when it comes to January. I absolutely love the spread of January. It just reminds me of like the Night Court in the ACOTAR series, and that is very much dark colors, but obviously I didn't really have that with the markers, so we just made the blues work. So I colored in all of the clouds this sort of indigo color, and I was really struggling because I was going to color them in gray, but I just felt like the gray would be a little sad, so I ended up limiting the gray to just the moon because that made more sense for the moon to actually be gray like it is. I did those same indigo colors for the sparkles, and then I highlighted my goals box in purple and outlined it, and then also did that for the accents of the little sparkles, as well as outlining the hot air balloon in that purple. You'll see that the goals I have here are the same ones that I mentioned in this video, because these are my New Year's reset related goals. The one thing I hate that I did on this page was the different colored on the banner of January. I meant to do the different color blue behind January instead of on the extension of the ribbon, if you know what I mean, because of it being like the back side of it. That part looks a little silly, but besides that, I actually really like how this whole main page came out. And then going into the actual January monthly spread, I'm really mainly using this Doodle Journal to just keep track of when I know I'm traveling, any like really important dates that I know aren't changing, like a wedding, for example, they hopefully won't change, and then any big deadlines related to like work with paying estimated taxes, things like that. But in terms of like putting down my brand deals when they're doing stuff like that, those change a lot sometimes, so I'm not really keeping those in here. I used some washi tape that I had, and I didn't neatly cut it because I just didn't have time because I was doing this before the wedding and everything, to kind of block off when we were on our honeymoon, just to kind of make it look pretty and also just block those dates off. I colored all of the little sparkles on this page in the dark marigold color, and then the moon was neon yellow on this one. I don't know why I didn't do it in gray. It's a little strange. And I kept the same consistency with the indigo clouds, and then I colored the January banner very poorly, outside of the lines even, for the month. And I didn't really put any notes in the notes section just because I figured any notes I had I'd be putting on the weekly spread. Moving on to the habit tracker and mood tracker. Super happy with how this one turned out. I just progressively got better and better as I was coloring these. And let me just say, I like put on the 1975 radio on my Spotify, and I was just like vibing while I was coloring these and filming the B-roll for it. And I'm just gonna have to do that at the beginning of every month. I just kind of thought of habits that I already do and then ones that I'm wanting to implement more. So I already read, I already exercise regularly, I don't journal very regularly. My walks is more so long walks rather than just the walks that I take my dog on. So intentional, I'm going on an extra long walk today. I have a no spin section, which it's January 17th and I haven't filled out a single day of that yet, but that's what happens when you go on your honeymoon. So, and then I have a floss section, a making coffee at home section, eating out, which I should have done eating at home because I could have colored more boxes if that were the case. And then posting on Instagram, which that just basically means posting like an in-feed post or a reel to like really see my consistency with that. Kind of did a pattern here, so I stayed within the purple, blues, and greens kind of theme that I have going. Kind of just did it on a pattern. So I did purple, that darker blue, light blue, the greenish blue, green, purple, and then to like repeat it once I got back to purple for the different habits. And then for the mood tracker, I kept that same color theme from the page before because that tends to look best when you're looking at a flat lay spread of 2 pages in my opinion. And I wish I would have done the mood tracker the same color as the habit tracker instead of doing a different color, but it's fine. Kept the clouds the same color, and I did all of the different color schemes for this based on the same colors that I used on the previous page. But that is my mood tracker page, and as you can see, coloring wise, I'm not the best with this. I like sometimes change directions. When I get really close to the edge outline of something, I start coloring in a different direction, and it definitely shows. But like I said, this isn't perfect. I'm not doing it to be perfect. I'm doing it to slow myself down and just enjoy. I don't know if I filmed me doodling this or not, but I'm actually really happy with it. It's obviously not filled out yet, but I did do a January review kind of spread for the dotted pages of January, and I plan on just kind of doing little branches out with a black pen at the end of the month and just reflecting on the different buckets of my life that I like to divide my life into. So in my podcast, I talked about the different buckets that I'm really focusing on, but I think I'll kind of do a mix of the buckets, or I'll just put down the goals that I had in the beginning of the January spread and kind of write out and reflect on those on this page. And I think my little snowflakes came out really good. I kept the same blues going on in the purple, and the snowflakes came out really great. I have a Pinterest board where I've like been saving different like Doodle Journal inspo. I think it's on my right board. I need to change it to be called journaling or something because I don't like that it's called right, but I named it that literally probably a decade ago. So I really like how this turned out. I just kind of did block letters for January, and then I wrote review in cursive because I just thought that'd be really pretty and cute, and I'm really excited to fill this out at the end of the month. And then I don't think I filmed B-roll for the weekly spread, which I'm mainly just keeping track of to-dos on my weekly spread. I didn't even bother coloring in the first 2 weeks when I was on the honeymoon because why would I when I'm not even going to be filling those out? So I hate that I didn't color those, but I did when I got back from the honeymoon. I went ahead and colored these. So, and I did do my little to-dos here. So I colored these the same as I was kind of coloring everything else with the indigo clouds and the yellow moon, and I did an alteration of the neon yellow and marigold yellow for the little stars. So I like how this turned out as well for my weeks. I need to go ahead and color in the rest of January, which is really just like one more week, honestly. So, and that is my very, very long 2024 New Year reset video. I hope you all enjoy this video and just the different aspects that I was able to integrate into it with how I am resetting at the beginning of this year and the different things I'm focusing on. And I hope it was inspiring for you, and I hope you learned something from it. But be sure to subscribe if you aren't already to stick around for many more videos to come. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Follow me on my social media, link down below, so you can keep up with me in real time and we can become besties. And then of course, check out my podcast, In Bloom Podcast, new episodes every Monday, wherever you listen. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Happy 2024.